seniors out here today? So my name's Susan Meyer. I'm with the California Alliance for Retired Americans. Woo! California Alliance for Retired Americans. We represent over 1 million seniors in California. We're a non-profit organization, and we're part of a national organization throughout the United States of America. Seniors are rising up today. Right? Our government has gone in and taken our Social Security information. How does that make you feel? Yesterday I watched what I put away in my savings all these years just go down in the dumps. Who's mad about this? Our president was playing golf while what we worked for was going down the toilet. So it's very serious when this government says they want to cut funds from programs, very good programs like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Do you realize that Medicaid is keeping our folks in nursing facilities? Do you know what's going to happen if our Social Security is taken away from the seniors? We're going to move in with our children! So cutting these programs, and what they're doing is they're cutting the staff. So that means if you're on Social Security and you're trying to get in to talk to them, you're on at least a 2-hour wait on their phone. Now, is that the service that we were thinking about? No! So we have fantastic people here, out here looking out after our best interests. We have Assemblywoman Elon. Do you know all the work she's doing? Have you seen the bills that she's getting passed? An amazing legislator. We have here Congressman Whitesides. He's out looking for our best interest. Please keep calling his office and letting him know how you feel. In fact, it's time. We've got to call our state senators. We have to let them know what these cuts mean to us. So you know that Medicaid is it's for those who are low income and they're in nursing facilities, right? Or they have in-home health services to keep them at home, where seniors and those with disabilities really want to be.
Yes.
Right?
Amen.
So please, everybody, it is so fantastic to see everyone out here. Look after your seniors and those with disabilities. And now I'm going to introduce our next speaker. It is Julie Johnson.
Yay, Julie!
Clarita, okay. By the way, whose history?
Our history!
Whose history?
Our history!
Okay, when I was asked to come here today, I'll be honest with you, I was scared. As a woman, as an American, I don't like to be scared to speak my truth. Thank you, God. So here I am. I am a history teacher. How many educators do we have in this space right now? Thank you for what you do. I'm a professor of history, and my
students are amazing human beings. They are engaged. My students are engaged and also frightened at what they see happening in the world around them. My students understand that education has always been the cornerstone of our democracy. My students learn in my history class that our founding generation, men and women, and I say generation because women were there too. Our founding generation knew that a republic, if we can keep it, depends on an educated citizenry. So for the government today to undercut and undermine the Department of Education, to attack educators on state and local levels, to attack the decisions that educators are making, focusing on our diverse students and their diverse lives. This is a danger to our republic.
Yes.
Education has always been the mechanism by which we uplift our children. Eleanor Roosevelt said in 1943, one of the best ways of enslaving a people is to keep them from education and thus make it impossible for them to understand what's happening in the world around them. We must protect our education. We must protect the Department of Education, the Smithsonian, our national parks, we must protect our educators and especially our students. Santa Clarita, okay. By the way, whose history?
Our history.
Whose history?
Our history.
Okay, when I was asked to come here today, I'll be honest with you, I was scared. As a woman, as an American, I don't like to be scared to speak my truth. Thank you, God. So here I am. I am a history teacher. How many educators do we have in this space right now? Thank you for what you do. I'm a professor of history, and my students are amazing human beings. They are engaged. My students are engaged and also frightened at what they see happening in the world around them. My students understand that education has always been the
How are we doing today? These are the words of David Jackson, the former head of the SCV Veterans Club. I am a proud veteran who served as a lieutenant colonel in the Army, serving in both Operation Desert Storm in Iraq and multiple deployments around the world. While I didn't vote for our current president, I know 6 in 10 veterans did. Many of the veterans I know here in this community, my friends, are included. While we may disagree on that choice, there is a lot we agree on. We all agree that we expect the president and those in power to do their best to make the lives of veterans better. What we've seen thus far with this administration is the opposite. The decisions being made are making our lives worse and putting many veterans' lives in danger. They have already fired over 2,500 staff from the VA, a place where many veterans get their life-saving health care, where I have received critical care that is now threatened. In 2022, after years of fighting, we won the PACT Act, which acknowledges the harm done to veterans and those serving who are exposed to harmful chemicals like Agent Orange or burn pits. This was the right thing to do, as these veterans desperately needed the health care for diseases they're battling due to their service. Over the past 2 years, the VA has served over 1 million more veterans and their survivors due to the expansion of coverage under the PACT Act. After staffing up to make sure vets got care as quickly as possible, the VA is now cutting 85,000 staff, with at least 1/3 of the staff being veterans like me. Vets who stepped up to serve other vets are now out of a job, and the vets they serve are suffering. Cutting staff means cutting health care for veterans. It means less access to mental health care that veterans desperately need. It means missed appointments that could be life and death for some veterans. And it means longer waits and less efficiency, not more. With overall budget cuts at the VA and the federal workforce reduction, at least 350 VA researchers, life-saving research, is slated to be stopped. This will harm veterans who need critical insights from VA research on cancer prevention and treatment and more. Not only that, cuts to Medicaid, or Medi-Cal in California, will hurt veterans' health too. Not all veterans can get health care through the VA. This would take away health care from veterans who are struggling the most. And to add insult to injury, they're even cutting the country's veteran crisis line, firing 900 of the 1,100 crisis line workers who answer the phone that are having a mental health crisis. About 17 veterans die by suicide each day. It remains a second leading cause of death among veterans under 45 years old. It is rising at alarming rates for women veterans, and cutting the Veterans Crisis Line staff threatens the lives of these veterans needing support. We will not be silent as Trump and Musk take a sledgehammer to the very services promised to veterans, to care for us when we return home from service and so much sacrifice.
Yes.
As a country, we are promised that when we serve, we will be taken care of when we get home. We are calling on the Trump administration to stop these cuts that put veterans' lives in danger and to live up to the promises you and this country have made to those of us who proudly serve.
Yes.
Today we say, no cuts to the VA.
No cuts to the
VA!
No cuts to Medicaid and our health care.
No
Cuts to Medicaid and our health care!
No cuts to mental health support.
No cuts to mental health support!
Hands off our veterans.
Hands off our veterans!
How we feeling, Santa Clarita? This is beautiful. It literally brought a tear to my eye. I am so happy to see everyone out willing to fight for your neighbors, for your family, for your kids, for veterans, for seniors. We are going to fight back against these cuts, and we are going to win. So I want to thank our speakers today, our amazing speakers, highlighting the critical care, the critical issues, the critical things that are on the chopping block if we don't fight back. And every day, we are going to need to use our energy to make sure that we are lifting up voices of those who are suffering and struggling because of the horrific cuts that are being threatened at the federal level. As an assembly member representing the Santa Clarita Valley and San Fernando Valley and Castaic and Valverde, I took an oath to protect and serve our community and uphold the Constitution. And with the actions we've seen from the federal government in just 2.5 months, we have a lot of work ahead of us to make sure that our community is protected and make sure the Constitution is upheld. Let's be clear, and I think we can all agree, that government efficiency and cutting wasteful spending is a good thing. But they are cutting the actual people who do the work to make sure that we're more efficient and that we are doing the work we're supposed to be doing. So that's not what Trump and Musk are doing. In the name of efficiency, they are aiming to cut critical, often life-saving services for veterans, for seniors, for people living with disabilities, for families who are doing their best to just survive and struggling to get by. All to pay for tax breaks for billionaires. People right here in Santa Clarita, maybe even folks here today, and let me say before I say this next sentence, we have a big tent, and we are welcoming everyone who's willing to fight for people in our community. So people here today may have voted for Trump because he promised to help you. But He's not doing that, right? And I don't know about you, but I haven't talked to anyone who voted for Trump, and I know we all know folks who voted for Trump, our neighbors, our friends, our family members, right? They believed him when he said he was going to cut prices on day one. Has that happened? No.
He gave us measles instead.
Give us measles. What the heck? So no one I have talked to said that they voted for the cuts that we're seeing. No one voted for Trump to help billionaires get even richer on the back of hardworking families in our community. And we're not going to stand for it. Am I right? Hey, hold on. So now that we're seeing what they're really after, more money for themselves, for their billionaire friends, it's clear that they care less about all of us. And it's time for us to unite, to fight back, and pass policies in California that protect people as much as possible. California is now going to have to be the important backstop against the attacks at the federal level. As we heard today, you know, I'm proudly the chair of the Military and Veteran Affairs Committee in the State Assembly. And are there veterans here today? Yes. And so, thank you, sir, for your service. And my dad was a veteran. He passed away last month. My brother is a veteran. And so, so this is personal. These cuts to veterans is personal.
Yeah.
My dad got 40 extra years of life because of the VA. He was able to celebrate Christmases and his 50th wedding anniversary because of the care at the VA. And now they're cutting 85,000 staff from the VA. On the heels of opening the VA up to more people who have been harmed by serving with chemicals that are killing people. My dad fought cancer 3 times because of his exposure to Agent Orange. And they are cutting services and care for those people exposed to Agent Orange, exposed to burn pits. That's who they're cutting care for. If my dad didn't get an appointment when he needed it, he would have died sooner. And so this is putting veterans' lives on the line, and we will not accept it. No! So I had a hearing, because I'm the chair of Military and Veteran Affairs, I held a hearing earlier last week to talk about what is threatened. I heard from organizations that serve veterans, one of the largest in the country was looking at shuttering their doors when the federal funding freeze happened at the end of June. They would only be able to make 1 payroll if their funding is cut off. They would not be able to pay rents for hundreds of veterans if their funding is paid off, or is cut off. And we know in California, one of the amazing things that we have done is we have cut veteran homelessness by over 44%. We've done this over the last few years with the partnership of the federal government. And we cannot let them step away when we are making so much progress. We need to move forward and keep making progress on addressing veteran homelessness, not going backwards, right? Yeah. We also heard from Adjutant General Beavers, who leads our military in the state of California. He talked about how they are wasting time and resources. You want to talk about government waste? What do you think it is when you have to spend days and days and days reviewing over 520 contracts to see if there are any provisions for paying for paper straws? That's what our military personnel in California had to spend time on because of a directive that came from the federal government. Does this sound like the work they should be doing?
No.
These are the very same people who came in and supported our LA community when the fires were raging. And they had to spend their time, they're still on the ground, some of them. They had to spend their time looking for paper straws in a contract. Can you believe this? We heard from Susan, who, if you are a senior and you're not a part of California Alliance for Retired Americans, y'all got to get involved because they kick a lot of butt. They are seniors on a mission. They not only are out in the streets like this, but they are in the Capitol. They are working with me on legislation to protect Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And we know that the cuts to Social Security and Medicare are cuts that threaten the lives of our seniors. You know, we had someone say that, well, you know, a billionaire saying that, well, if my mother didn't get her Social Security check, she wouldn't get upset about it. Well, she lives with him. She doesn't have to worry about paying rent. She doesn't have to worry about, like my grandmother did, cutting up a tissue box to use it as a lunch box because she couldn't afford to buy one. It's not like that for most seniors, right? They rely on Social Security. They cannot wait for those checks to come in the mail. And so cutting Social Security, cutting the things that we paid for. Everybody who here gets a check and you see Social Security on your check that you're paying for. You see Medicare on that check that you paid for. This is not a Ponzi scheme. This is something we have paid for that has been safely invested for us, that we expect to get back, that has cut seniors in poverty. They were 50% of seniors were in poverty before Social Security was created, and now it's less than 10%. That is because of Social Security and the choices we need, and we are going to protect Social Security and Medicare for our seniors. Am I right? Don't steal our money. That's right. You know another way they're trying to steal our money? We got more. Medicaid, we get $170 billion into the state of California for Medicaid. That is largely paid for by the federal government, but those are dollars we pay to the federal government and expect to come back to us to pay for health care for our community. We pay more to the federal government than we ever get back. We are a donor state. We are supporting other states with our dollars. I will be damned if we are not going to get every dollar owed to us back. So they are trying to blow a hole in our state budget. I sit on the Senate or on the Assembly Budget Health Subcommittee, where we are looking at tens of billions of dollars they could cut just in Medicaid funding alone that will blow a hole in our state budget, limiting our ability to fund all the things we care about. Education, healthcare, housing, addressing homelessness. All of these things are threatened because of possible cuts to Medicaid. Are we going to stand for that? No. Okay, wrapping up. So, we know there's so much to talk about, right? Because they're trying to do all the things all at once, so we can't pay attention. So we have to be informed and we have to know that we're paying attention. They've been after our rights to abortion care for years, and I have a bill to make sure that we not only are making sure that people know about a safe place to get medical abortion care, but also the information that was taken down from the CDC site about women's health and abortion care, that we have a place for it here in California, and that information is not lost for medical providers who are trying to provide care to people who need abortion care. California will be the backstop if the federal government fails us. Last two things. You know about the burning landfill in Chiquita Canyon? We have been fighting against this burning landfill to make sure that we are keeping our community safe who is getting sick every single day because of toxins in the air, toxins that have gone into our water in this community. The very agency that is helping to protect us from that is being cut by this administration. Are we going to stand for that? No! So on education, we have billions of dollars in our community that go to Pell Grants. When they talk about shutting down the Department of Education, most of that is just simply Pell Grants and education funding that we expect in this state. Over 60% of the people who go to CSUN are on Pell Grants. How are they going to be able to afford to go to college if they don't have that extra help? That's how I was able to go to college, Pell Grants. And I have paid back my debts to those Pell Grants over and over again. And we know when people get an education, that's what they do. It is an investment in the future. It is an investment in our country and our people. And we will not stop until they make sure those Pell Grants come to our community. I just want to make a promise to you today that I will continue to do everything that I can in the state of California to fight to make sure California is a backstop for the cuts and attacks that are happening at the federal level, that we are fighting to support our seniors, our children, our youth, our students, everyone who needs health care, which is everyone in our community, and our veterans and everyone who has been fighting to make sure that we take care of our neighbors. I will fight for you. I will continue to fight for you. Our office is always here for you, and we are going to win. Are you ready?
Folks. Good to see ya. Let's give it up for Pilar Schiavo. Isn't she amazing? Let's give it up for Cory Booker. And let's give it up for all of you for coming out and showing you are going to stand up for our democracy. Because we know that when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. They said we couldn't flip this district. Well, look at where we are now. They said Pilar couldn't flip this district. She just got reelected. Folks, I'm new to D.C. We've been there for 3 months. What a shit show! These guys can't shoot straight. But they are causing so much harm. So much needless harm. To kids, to parents, to seniors, to teachers, to scientists, to those who need some help. They are just causing so much damage. And it all comes from one guy at the top who was golfing when our retirement savings were going in the tubes. I'm going to keep it short because we got to do the work and get back out there. But I just have a couple things that I wanted to say. So, number one, they're cutting 80,000 folks from the VA, but we're going to fight for veterans. Yes! They're cutting $888 billion from Medicare, but we're going to fight for those who depend on Medicare. Yes! They're breaking Social Security, and they're decimating our retirement plans, but we're going to fight for our seniors. Yes! They want to get rid of the Department of Education. Yes! But we are going to fight for our students and our teachers. They're cutting thousands of people at the Forest Service, including many of the folks who fought to save our houses in January. But we are going to fight for the firefighters. They're cutting funding for local law enforcement and putting hardened criminals who brutally assaulted officers on January 6th on the streets. Well, we are going to fight for local law enforcement. They're cutting SNAP and food assistance for those who need it most, but we are going to fight for the most disadvantaged because that's the people that we are. We care about our neighbors. They are laying waste to NASA and NOAA and NSF and NIH and the folks who forecast the goddamn weather, who help cure cancer. But we are going to fight for our scientists. They are cutting dedicated prosecutors and forcing loyalty tests inside the FBI and the DOJ. But that's right. But we're going to fight for our brave lawyers and investigators who are going to stand up for the rule of law in this country. It's not going to be easy, folks. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be anything than hard. The next 2 years, the next 4 years are going to be hard. But this event here and the people that you see gives us hope, right? Yeah. Because there are good people in our communities. There are good law-abiding people who care about our neighbors, who care about our teachers, who care about our scientists. And we know what kind of country America is. And what we see now is not the America that we are. We are betraying our allies. Yeah. Canada has said they're not with us anymore. Canada! Jesus Christ! We've lost Canada! You can't blame them! Look, it's going to be hard. But we have got to work together. We have got to be out on the streets like we are now. We have got to be communicating to everybody. You know, and we've got to be communicating with the folks on the other side of the aisle to make sure that they know that in 2026 there will be electoral consequences for this terrible behavior. We've got to be fighting in the courts, because actually when we fight back in the courts, we are winning in the courts. And we have got to keep faith that we are a good people, right? You look out here, and we are not what we see in the White House, right? We are a compassionate people. We are a people who takes care of each other. We are a people who respect our allies and who take care of our allies, and we are people who are going to fight for what's good and right in the future. And most of all, we are going to fight for the future of this country. Because, let's be clear, that is what is at stake right now, the future of the United States. And we have to be out there, we have to be strong, peaceful but strong, right? Because this is the most important moment of our lives right now. This is a moment at which things could go either direction. And by being out here today, you are making a statement that you are going to fight for the good path, for democracy, and for your neighbors. And I'm going to be fighting there, right there with you in Washington, D.C. Don't give up. Have hope. Fight, and let's get back out there. Thanks, everybody.